What is good, guys, and welcome to another video, and welcome to the start of a maintenance series vlog that I'm going to be doing on the 997 Turbo. Yes, you are not fooled by the thumbnail to this video. The car is broken. Long story short, after I had done the suspension install on my buddy's car, I told myself, you know, I got to get my car ready and worked on because I got a trip next month. I'm headed to Ocean City, endless summer cruising. And that's like a 300-400 mile round trip. I told myself, you know, I gotta make sure the car is good before I leave. So I got it up on the lift, started doing the inspection, and started in the back. Made sure everything in the back was good. There's no leaks or drips of any kind, and everything back here looks pretty darn good. Did the inspection on the suspension on the front of the car, everything looked good there. Then I moved to the front center of the car to inspect the differential, because yes, for those who are just getting into Porsche, 997 turbos are all-wheel drive, so it does have a front differential. So I started looking there to make sure no leaks of any kind, but then I peeked through the splash shield, that thing right there, and I saw CV boot grease, and I'm telling myself, like, what the, you know, CV boot grease? Because one of the first things that I did to this car when I got it back in 2020 was I replaced all 4 CV boots in the front. I knew that was a maintenance item, and I even touched on that in my last video. So yes, the front inner CV joint boots are leaking grease, and we're just gonna go in there and I'll show you what I found. All right, here's the front diff, and here's the right front axle. Ew, that boot is like completely torn open. So is the left front. But it's a good thing that I decided to check the car over, because driving a long distance with torn open boots like this, it's a recipe for disaster. This could become a very expensive repair. I mean, doing the initial check, the grease still looks like it's not contaminated with dirt and grime, and sticking my finger in there, it still seems kind of clean. But I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just the quality of the boot. Rubber, because these are not factory OEM boots. These are from Pelican parts. But I have new boots on order from Porsche, and Porsche genuine boots. I do have a theory as to why this happened, and we're just going to dive into that once I get the wheels off and I start taking things apart. It could have been bad. It could have been really, really ungood. Look at that. Alright, so before I dive into my theory as to why this has happened, I want y'all to take note of the current wheel gap. Even though the suspension is hanging and completely drooped, I mean, that's pretty minimal right there. But I'm gonna lower the car down, take the wheels off. Yeah, so it's just my luck, right? Figures this would happen at the last minute, but seems like every car guy is always on a deadline. Thank God I have my own lift, right? Oh, this is my car wash stuff. All right, take these wheels off. So I know in my last video I mentioned that I wasn't completely sold on the wheel stud conversion. This is the only drawback for using wheel bolts, that you can't hang your wheels from the studs when you're taking them off, so you got to use these pins to hold them in place. And it's especially imperative that you do that when you have carbon ceramic brakes, because if the wheel falls on the carbon ceramic rotor, you chip the rotor, and that's a $5,000, $7,000 oops. Yes, I do go a little bit overboard, not because I have to, but because I can. I have 5 of these pins, so each wheel that comes off gets 5 pins. Okay, maybe I'll just do 4 pins. Alright. Alright, so what I think has happened to that CV boot is that the mounting point for the spindle has now dramatically changed because of the altered ride height. So when I put these coilovers on, I did lower the front end a good amount. So I think the mounting point of the spindle has moved upwards, and the relation to the mounting point of the spindle to the input of the differential has changed so dramatically that it has now altered the angle of the axle quite a bit, to show you guys what I mean. All right, so if you look at the input of the diff, where the axle goes into the diff, in relation to the input of the spindle, and look at the angle of the drive shaft, you know, that's pretty aggressive. So what I think is happening is that that aggressive angle is now putting this CV boot on constant strain and undue stress, because instead of it being kind of like an accordion where it could flex in and out as it needs to, now it's just always flexed, and it's just causing it to prematurely wear out. I don't think it's doing any damage to the inner joint or anything, because I would have definitely noticed like noises or vibrations, but to give you a better idea, let's see what the angle is. So it's at 7.8 degrees. Now, I don't know what it normally is, because I haven't had stock ride height in a long time, but I could tell you that it probably is not 7.8 degrees. And keep in mind that that's probably going to increase as the suspension travels upwards with the weight of the car. I'm kind of curious to see what that angle would be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the car and then jack this up and put load on it and see what the maximum angle we're getting. All right, so the lift arm is no longer making contact with the jack point, so I assume that is at its maximum compression. So let's get the angle gauge and just see what this thing is reading. 9.6 degrees. I think that is way too aggressive. So unfortunately, I think the solution to all of this, as much as it pains me to do it, is to raise the car back up in the front by an inch, inch and a half. It's gonna suck because I got this thing dialed in terms of ride height perfectly to where I want it, and to raise it up, I know it's gonna kill the look for me. It just looks so badass at its current ride height, but I think the only solution to not having this happen again is to raise it. Womp womp. Being a mechanic, I've done countless CV boots on all different types of cars. Hondas, Acuras, Toyotas, Lexus, Nissan, BMWs. And I know for a fact a CV boot should last well over 4 years. It should probably be like 10 year. You know, I mean, the CV boots on the rear of this car are original to the car, and this is a 2007. So what does that tell you? All right, so that's my theory as to what happened with the front CV joint boots. Unfortunately, I come to the conclusion that the only way to rectify this is by raising the ride height. But I don't know, let me know in the comments what you guys think. Should I just raise it and choose function over form? Or should I just say YOLO and keep it at the ride height I have it now? And just be okay with replacing CV boots every 2 or 3 years? Because when this thing is sitting on the ground, I'm telling you, it looks badass. I got the ride height dialed to what I think is perfect. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but all I know is that I gotta get these axles out of the car so that I can reboot them. We'll be touching base then when I have them out. I'll do a quick tutorial on how to reboot these axles. If you guys own this car or a 996 turbo, anything, or even a C4S, you're gonna have to do this. So stick around. It'll be a nice little tutorial for you guys. All right, y'all, check this out. I found a new way of doing things. Before, when I would take these CV axles out, what I would do is I would remove the entire upright assembly with the shock absorber from the car. That would require you to remove the brakes and all that jazz, and just not fun. So what I've done this time was I undid the outer tie rod, undid the lower ball joint from the knuckle, and kind of pulled the knuckle out this way. And now the axle is free and clear to just unbolt from the differential and pull out this way. So You learn something new every day. Check out this guy. Look at this contraption I got here. Gross. All right, so both axles are out and removed from the car. Honestly, I've probably been working on the car for 20 minutes, if that. With that being said, with as quickly as those came out and how cheaply you could have these rebooted for, I'm almost tempted to just say screw it and just leave the car at the ride height that I have it and be okay with replacing CV boots whenever they tear. But I don't know, I'll sleep on that one. I just looked at the parts order and these should be arriving in the next couple of days. So unfortunately, we're kind of stuck where we are. Obviously, I'm not gonna go taking it apart until we have the parts in hand. There's a lot of stuff I have to do to the car. Obviously the oil change. I've got to take off the front bumper to clean out the radiator shrouds from all the debris that's probably caught up in there from however long since the last time I did that, probably like a year and a half ago. I've got to do some other stuff. I've got to wash it. I'll probably clean up the wheel well because it's all gunky in there and gross. Take a brush to it. I have these Torque Solutions adjustable drop links to install, so that'll go on as well. I'm debating whether or not I should take the time while this is all apart to go ahead and just order the adjustable lower control arms. I don't know which brand I would go with because that could easily be done now while this is apart. So I'd get the lower arms and then I'd get the thrust arms so that I can, one, widen the track and adjust caster with the thrust arms and also adjust wheelbase. I have the bump steer kit on order, and I have rear toe links on order as well. I've got to do an alignment on the car after this is all done, or try to at least. We got a new alignment rack. I'm not sure that this is going to clear. I don't know, we'll see. Which means I might have to take it somewhere and pay somebody to do an alignment, which I hate doing because I actually like doing alignments on this car because if you have it dialed right, nothing quite like it, I'm telling you. But yeah, I guess that's going to wrap it up for episode 1 of this maintenance vlog for the 997 Turbo. But if you haven't yet, go ahead and consider subscribing to the channel, dropping a like, leaving a comment, let me know what you think of what's going on here. Until the next one, which will be dropping pretty shortly. Peace. Nice.